a pretty popular thing to do around here, but if you've ever gone paddleboarding near the Gandy Bridge in St. Pete, you may have come across this, the boat graveyard.
Not our name. That's what people call it, who have to weave around old boats that are just sitting in the water sinking. 10 News anchor Katie McCall did some digging.
Boats in the bay, abandoned. This story started with two questions. Why are they still here? And why doesn't someone tow them away?
Paddleboarders, kayakers, and canoers travel to this section of the Weeden Island Preserve that's protected from the wind.
Everybody's out here to just, kind of be quiet and be with nature.
It's not protected from these.
Sometimes you just look over and there's an abandoned ship and you're kind of just wondering, wow, that thing has been here for a long time.
People are warned to stay away from them.
Not only is it a risk, but it just, we get a lot of questions as to what's up with all the abandoned ships out there. Why are there so many? Does anybody come and pick them up?
It's a question people have asked for years.
Pretty soon it's starting to look like a graveyard,
It's obvious no one has used these boats in a long time. Their remains are decaying, rusting, and several are sinking.
The boats that you can see out here are scary enough. We know that they're bad for the environment and dangerous to people. But what's even more frightening are the ones you can't see from the surface. You could be headed right for them and never even notice them.
And I saw the boat and I didn't want to run it over, to catch the fin on the thing, then you're caught up in the wreck.
You can't leave your car on the side of the road forever. It'll be towed. So why are these allowed to sit in the water and rot year after year? The area is patrolled by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. Under state law, its officers are authorized and empowered to remove or cause to be removed any vessel that is left stored, abandoned, wrecked, junked, or substantially dismantled upon any public waters of the state.
Barnacles on the side of the boat kind of do tell the story.
We started investigating on October 15th. We kept asking and waiting for 22 days.
Why are these old decaying boats just sitting in the water and not being pulled out and towed away?
These owners of these boats have the right to due process to contest any of these charges against them. So it's a process with through the court system.
Once we finish that investigation, then it goes to either a municipality or it goes to the county for removal. Each case, if everything works out right, is going to take us about 6 to 12 months to get the vessel removed.
So we asked, who's responsible for these old boats sitting in front of us if the owners can't be found?
It's basically us going out there, identifying the vessel while we're on patrol, and either we start the investigation or a local municipality or the county starts the investigation. Then we request removal from whoever's jurisdiction it is.
The county or municipality where the vessels are dumped is burdened with removing them. The state later pays 75% back, and in some cases, all of it. FWC issues citations and opens cases.
They're not all active cases, but we are currently working, I know at least 2 of them right now, and we're continually trying to add that to the database.
Here are 2 of the boats we found with FWC stickers on them. No dates, no evidence.
And who would it be in this case? Like that boat right there?
In this case, we're looking at quite a few different jurisdictions. I believe we've got some private property in here. St. Pete Police Department works this area, as well as Pinellas, as well as the state. So it's a joint effort between all the agencies.
We checked with the city of St. Petersburg.
Definitely outside city limits.
John Rodriguez, the government affairs director, said the city would love to remove those boats, but it's not the city's jurisdiction.
Fish and Wildlife Commission, the state, or Pinellas County is going to have to step up here to get rid of these.
When we followed up with FWC, we got some great news. Cases have now been initiated for 18 vessels deemed derelict by its officers and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office at this location.
I think it might be a sailboat.
Andrew Squires just got the go-ahead to pull 2 of them out.
We just get a letter from them saying you're now going to remove this vessel. They gave us the location of it and photographs of it. And by our contract, they have 30 days to remove it.
And when you say they, who's they?
It's a salvage company that the county has in contract.
Pinellas County's Environmental Management Division showed us 2 letters just sent by FWC authorizing the county to remove 2 boats in the county's jurisdiction.
We don't know about it until we get the letter from FWC. We only have these 2 vessels right now.
For people whose hope had all but sunk, that's a good start.
You're trying to enjoy the outdoors, and then you have to, you know, just kind of look at abandoned ships that have broken glass or whatever the case may be. It's just not nice to look at.
It's also not safe, which is why it's so important to get them removed. And it's not cheap, ranging from $7,000 to $8,000 per vessel to get them out. We have a lot more content on our website, so go to WTSP.com and check out our app for more content. Back in October, we started investigating old decaying boats sitting in the bay. Tonight, in part 2 of our investigation on boat graveyards, we see boats that were eyesores for a long time being pulled out. It's happening. Rusty old boats that have been sitting in the water way too long.
Oh, we're seeing them everywhere, all over Florida.
Are being pulled out. People who passed by these eyesores every day are happy to finally see them go.
We just live down on the beach, so we travel this road often, and it's been here for quite a while.
Are you surprised that it was there for that long?
Yes, I think it's kind of sad that it's just left for other people to deal with. It becomes a safety hazard with the waterways right here.
This one is the third boat ordered out by Florida Fish and Wildlife since we started investigating in October. FWC is the law enforcement arm of the state that handles old abandoned boats called derelict vessels in our waterways. After our first story aired, Stephen Lee and his crew were authorized to pull these 2 decaying boats out of what locals call the boat graveyard in St. Pete.
Sometimes you just look over and there's an abandoned ship and you're kind of just wondering, wow, that thing has been here for a long time.
Here are the removal authorization letters from FWC to Pinellas County dated November 7th, 13th, and 20th. When a vessel is deemed derelict by the state, the jurisdiction where it was dumped takes care of removal. Lee says the moment the county gets authorization from the state, it takes action because these hazards can take someone's life.
Some of these are partially submerged, so if a vessel hits them at speed, of course someone can be ejected. We just removed one off the jetty where I think 4 were ejected.
But that's not all. When these boats sit there year after year, they pollute the water and endanger the wildlife.
We have to remove fuel off of them. There's paint, batteries, motor oil, different things like that. So all of that has to come off.
Those are big environmental hazards, aren't they?
Definitely.
Lee tells us when they remove vessels like these, they never know what's going to happen. Sometimes they fall apart. The view from above, captured by Drone 10, shows just how challenging the process can be. This one didn't want to come up to the surface for 3 days. And this time-lapse video shows you all the work that goes into it. These are not going to be a hazard anymore. And we are told more vessels will follow.
I think a lot of people take on projects and realize they take on the vessel, realize it's too much, it's going to cost them too much, and then the easy thing for them to do is leave it. That's why the county wants them disposed of. There's no salvage in these vessels. We destroy them.
Cleaning up the bay, one boat at a time.
I'm very pleased to see that happen.
We received tons of calls after our first story aired. Some of you say you have boats that you've tried to tow out of the water. Others have a boat graveyard junking up your neighborhood. We are staying on top of this issue, and you can see much more of our ongoing story on our 10 News app. Just look for Boat Graveyard.
The boat graveyard is home to dozens of old, rusty, sunken boats.
And no one wants to see that.
No.
10 News' Katie McCall explains this area, it's been hard to see for people that are on the water, people that live here, and also visitors that come to St. Pete the last few years.
They come here to enjoy nature, not stare at these. 4 months ago, we started asking why these vessels are being allowed to sit, disintegrate, and sink, and no removal orders were being issued. Today, we're seeing results. It's something people here never expected to see. Rusty old boats being towed away, pulled onto shore, and destroyed. When this crew is finished, 11 boats that called this boat graveyard home for years will haunt these waters no more.
I think it's incredible. I think it's great that we have people out there that are cleaning up the waterways here in Florida and providing a safe habitat for all the animals.
These dangerous eyesores are covered in barnacles, rust, algae, and debris. Many are filled with oil and fuel, covered in peeling paint.
It's crazy. They just let them sit out here and sink, and then nobody does anything with them.
We thought it was crazy too. That's why we've been asking FWC about these abandoned boats called derelict vessels since October. Why are these old decaying boats just sitting in the water and not being pulled out and towed away?
These owners of these boats have the right to due process to contest any of these charges against them.
Florida Fish and Wildlife officers patrol this area. The agency opens derelict vessel cases. This is Pinellas County's property, but until the state issues an order for removal, the county's hands are tied. It can't legally touch these boats. There were 18 derelict vessels going nowhere. A month into our investigation, things started to change.
Soon after those reports came out on the news, we got more notices to remove vessels from that area.
In November, the first 2 removal orders landed on Pinellas County Environmental Services Director Andrew Squire's desk. He hired a crew, and just 3 weeks later, these boats that had been sitting here rotting for years were pulled out. The cost was $11,000. When our second story hit the air in December, things got a lot busier. A flood of FWC orders for vessel removals came into the county, allowing it to change the landscape of the boat graveyard.
So on January 14th, we received 6 notifications from law enforcement to remove 6 vessels from that area. And within the next 6 weeks, we had 3 other requests to remove vessels. So that's 9 vessels in a pretty short period of time.
This boat is one of 9 being pulled out of the water just this week. The orders came from FWC between January 14th and February 21st, after our first 2 stories aired. The price tag on this one, $44,000 for those 9 boats. Pinellas County will foot the bill, then submit it to the state for full reimbursement.
We've removed about 11 vessels from that area since November. To get them all removed in that period of time is not that common.
Squires says the county has received calls from boaters who are ecstatic to see how fast things are changing. The boat graveyard is finally in need of a name change.
These boats can be hazardous to other boats, and to get them out of the water is just a satisfying thing.
After our first 2 stories aired, the state revised its derelict vessel grant removal program, making it easier for municipalities and counties to get rid of old boats. Now FWC will reimburse 100% of all removal costs to counties and cities. That used to be only 75%. Applications will now be accepted without deadlines that usually slow down the process, and now state funding can be used to assist with derelict vessels that are tied to public and private property that are there without the consent of the owner. Great changes there, but there are still vessels that need to come out, including these 2 giants that are completely underwater. They haven't even been scheduled for removal yet.
Quite a few were removed. I mean, that's kudos. I mean, that's great work that they're doing.